Suomi 125 dokumenttisarjan mahdollistajat. Fiskars Village. Metsä Group. Kääpä Biotech. Suomi elää haastavaa taantuma-aikaa. Talouttamme painavat alijäämä ja velkaantuminen, kansainvälisen kaupan epävarmuus, heikentyvä tuottavuus ja geopoliittiset jännitteet. Suomi 125. Ilma, Vesi ja maa dokumenttisarja kertoo luonnon merkityksestä. Se on enemmän kuin kaunis tausta. Se on yrittäjyyden, uusien työpaikkojen ja innovaatioiden lähde. Sen viisas hyödyntäminen pitää maan elinvoimaisena ja asuttuna, luo tilaa uusille ideoille, syvälle keskustelulle ja kansainväliselle näkyvyydelle. Tavoitteena on yhteinen tahtotila. Tehdä Suomesta mahdollisuuksien maa.
I think in general, as an American, totally grew up in America, totally trained in the American culture. The idea of an entrepreneur in America is a hero, right? Is the cowboy, is the one who goes out to the Wild West where there's opportunity, just takes a horse and a hat and a gun and fights with justice, and does something interesting. And there's a high level of, let's say, societal value placed on a person who's willing to take risk for the benefit of the larger community, right? Not just ourselves, but it's for the benefit of the larger community. And I think my biggest experience or kind of dissonance when I came to Finland was that didn't exist. That the Finnish word for entrepreneur is one who tries, and it's almost like demeaning. The trier. Let's let the trier go try something. The mentality that I've come about to notice. And I think that this is really destructive in a way, actually. Because I think, yes, most triers or most entrepreneurs, we're gonna fail, right? I mean, out of all the companies that started when we started, 95 or 96% of them are not here right now. That's a huge, huge failure rate, right? We at the company, we talk a lot about what is innovation. And a lot of companies want to say that they're innovative. What does innovation mean? Innovation means that you're failing a lot. So if you're looking as a leadership in a company and what KPIs you're going to look at for innovation, you should be monitoring and tracking how many times we fail. Because if we're not failing some level, we're actually not trying hard enough. We're not actually being innovative. If we're always getting something right, we're taking very safe and easy bets. So every time you fail, you learn something massively important. And the number of times that I've spoken to entrepreneurs that felt that they had failed and they now need to give up and they tried it, but they failed and they're a failure and they're an entrepreneur failure. No. What you have done is you have, as part of that failing, you have learned valuable lessons that you cannot learn without failing. I'm Eric Puro. I'm an American guy, grew up in the US. But my grandfather's father moved the family from Finland, actually, to the US. So that's why I have this Finnish last name. I didn't speak Finnish at home, but we had a sauna. That was the one, connection back to the homeland. I went to a really good business school in the US, and I asked my teachers, I said, okay, well, what should I do after business school? And probably you should go into corporate consulting or investment banking. These are your two options. And I said, okay, all right, great. I was like, well, with consulting, I get to travel, so let's do that. I got a great job with one of the big 4 consulting firms out of Chicago, and I did this for about a year. And that experience really helped me understand, what this life is about somehow, or what is going on here. So I kind of had a midlife crisis. I did everything that people told me to do, right? I got good grades, I went to the good university, I got the best job that I could, and I was making a lot of money after college, but I wasn't feeling happy, I wasn't feeling satisfied. So I hit the road again, and I traveled around the US, and I hitchhiked around Europe for about 8 years. Just traveled and just really met as many people as I could and had as many experiences as I could. So in my mind, I need to start thinking a little bit more about the future. I need to find a little bit more stability. And in that process of thinking about that, what is the company that I'm going to create now? I need to do something that's a little bit more commercial orientated, but leverages my passion that gets me out of bed in the morning. So my personal connection with nature and the importance of that in my life can be commercialized with a biotech company. And when biotech is effectively a really fancy way of saying, we're going to solve problems, right? The industry has or people have or something. We're going to solve problems. And we're going to solve those problems by looking at nature for those answers. We're not going to look at a tech laboratory. We're not going to look at a chemical laboratory. We're not going to create something necessarily. But we're going to look at just, what are natural things that have existed in nature for a long, long, long time, natural systems in the forest or whatever that have existed for a long time, and how can we leverage those and add more value?
There are lots of ways that fungi can help us arise to the challenges of our times. We can work with fungi to mitigate climate change because fungi are organisms that spin the carbon cycle. Fungi are releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere through their decomposition, and fungi are putting carbon dioxide into the soil through their relationships with plants. So plants take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and much of that, the fixed carbon that they produce, the sugars and the fats, they put into the soil to feed their fungal partners. They're stabilizing carbon when it gets into the soil. And if we're trying to address climate change without thinking about fungi, it's like we're trying to solve a puzzle with several key missing pieces. And there's a number of ways that we can act on that information. There's also medicines. Fungi are metabolic wizards. They produce all sorts of compounds that have transformed human life already. There are many ways that they can continue to do so. Fungi are great at breaking things down, and there are many ways that humans partner with fungi to do this already in industry, or to produce alcohol, for example. We're recruiting fungi to break down sugars and turn them into alcohol. Yeast are a group of fungi. Making materials with fungi can be used to make materials to build things with or make things with. So there are all sorts of ways that we can partner with fungi, that we are already partnering with fungi to adjust to life on a damaged planet. I was first drawn into the world of fungi through mycorrhizal fungi. Mycorrhizal fungi are a large group of fungi that form relationships with plants. They grow in and around plant roots, and they help plants to find nutrients in the soil. And they trade those nutrients, like nitrogen and phosphorus, with plants. And the plants provide the fungus with energy-containing carbon compounds like sugars and fats in return for these nutrients that the fungi finds in the soil. So as a trading relationship, it makes all of plant life possible. It enabled the ancestors of plants to move from water onto the land hundreds of millions of years ago. And it's a vital symbiosis that has made and remade the biosphere, and without which we couldn't exist. And so this was what I was drawn into the fungal world through. My name's Merlin Sheldrake. I'm a biologist and a writer, and I work on fungi. And I trained as an ecologist, and so I think about fungal relationships and the way they negotiate relationships and the way that the fungal relationships transform life on Earth and make the conditions possible for so much of what we take for granted.
We were staying in Kentucky. We had bought a big, beautiful piece of land. It was like 30 hectares. We had 3 spring-fed waterfalls on the property. We were in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Just abundance and beauty in this nature. And this was it. We were going to build our log house there and raise the kids, and this is the plan. Unfortunately, life never works this way, actually. And she said, "Hey, let's come to Finland and let's show my parents, right, who's living in Espoo, their granddaughter." I said, "Yeah, of course." We had this nice couple weeks of family time. And during that, I have kind of like a internal allergy to cities somehow. So for me, a couple days into Espoo, I said, "I gotta get out of here. Where can we go?" And she said, "Well, let's go to Nuuksio." I said, "Yeah, great." So we went to this forest, and I took my shoes off, and I'm walking on these trails, and this is July, August, right? So this is the prime Finnish summer at its best. The forest is lush, the moss is growing on the forest floor. Blueberries are just the understory of the forest, basically. All these beautiful lakes and people just really enjoying themselves. And I just looked at her and I said, "Hey," this sparkle in my eye came, and I just knew, 100% what I needed to do, and that was sell everything in the US and move to Finland. And I said, I have been traveling around for so long, and I've never felt at home anywhere. And this is my nature. I said, this is it. I feel totally comfortable, totally at home here. I could live in this forest for the rest of my life. And now, I'm sailing in the Saaristo. We're going to Lapland for backcountry skiing. It's like everywhere I go in Finland is a totally different place. Like the Saaristo, you could live there. That's a totally unique ecosystem, totally interesting geology, totally interesting people. It's like everywhere in Finland is just a very unique place. So I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. When I moved to Finland, and I decided, okay, time to start thinking about this biotech company, I started to interview potential co-founders. So I just went to all the different meetup groups in Helsinki. I leveraged a lot of universities, and I just invited a lot of technical co-founders to my sauna. And I said, hey, I got a summer house in Lohja. Come over, I'll make you really nice dinner, and we can talk about whatever inspires you. Because I'm not a technical guy, right? But I'm in love with this country, I'm in love with the nature here, and I want to start a biotech company in Finland. So I just met a lot of engineers, I met a lot of different people, and my mycologist that I met basically just kept talking in that sauna the whole time. And I just, at the end of the sauna, I just was like buzzing, like, oh my God, mushrooms, It's just this huge inspiration that I got. And I figured that if they could inspire me, right, so strongly, that I could leverage that, and I could inspire the world around fungi as well. The reason we chose Lohja is it's not the traditional village like Fiskaris. It's not the traditional small countryside village, I would say, in Finland. There's a really robust community that's really strong, with people very focused on different ecological values and growing gardens, and so for us it's a great place to live and have people working from here with a lot of synergies of our company's values. When we started the company, we realized very early on that these mushrooms that you see here, these are going to be what's putting food on my family's table and all of our family's table. Like we're gonna enter into a kind of codependent relationship, let's say, that we're gonna help these mushrooms and they're gonna help us. And so we knew that when we entered into that kind of relationship with mushrooms, that also required us to think longer term, right? And a lot about the health of these different species. Whatever these mushrooms that we grow, basically we can grow them indoors in infinity. We have a lot of raw material here in Finland. We have lots of birch. We can grind up and use as a substrate. We have facilities to grow these mushrooms. So we feel like there's not really an issue with those. And we had a couple products off the start of the company, and one of those was this Chaga inoculation work, this inoculation service, working with forest owners to grow us pakurikapa, this Chaga mushroom. So I think the evolution of the company over these past, let's say, 7 years, have really been in a response to just this overwhelming global demand and kind of people waking up to generally natural medicine, and then specifically, I think, functional mushrooms. The reality is, of course, if we would start this company in the US, the salaries would be higher, taxes would be lower, it's just a black and white comparison. But I think, what Finland really provides that the US doesn't is a very high quality of life. There isn't the crime here. Everyone's taken care of. I know everyone has good mental health. I know we're all able to sit down and have a nice meeting. And that's like priceless. And I think that, the biggest impression I had when I moved to Finland was the whole country got together and said, what are the basic requirements that people need to live like an okay life? And those are almost guaranteed by society. And this is really happening nowhere else in the world. If something a little bit goes wrong, you become homeless. If something a little bit goes wrong, you get to a hospital and you might stay there for a long time. Everyone's living a little bit with this big fear of like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Whereas in Finland, that is really, it's not present. And you can see it with the mental health of people. You can see it, you're in a taxi and someone is driving you and you talk about their life, they're okay, right? In the US, they're freaking out about, whatever, politics or whatever, they're just, mental health is really on this edge in a way. So I think it's a real honor to be here. It's a real honor to pay taxes. It's a real honor to participate in this and grow this country for sure.
Without fungi, there would be no recognizable world. The world that we know is so co-constituted by fungi that it is very difficult to imagine what the world without fungi would look like, because there would be no soil as we know it. There would be no plants as we know it. And if there were no plants and no soil, then there wouldn't be a biosphere as we know it. And so animals as we know, including ourselves, wouldn't have evolved because those selective pressures and those environments in which animals evolved wouldn't be as they are today. So there's so many ways that fungi are inextricably woven into the history of life that it's very difficult to imagine a world without fungi, because fungi are such vital players in the biosphere and have been for so long. And so fungi are ecosystem engineers, vital co-authors of the way that life happens today. I think there are a few reasons why we're seeing an explosion of interest in fungi. One is that we know more about fungi now than we did. So there's more to know, more to talk about, more to be excited about. And that's partly because of new technological breakthroughs that have made it possible to study fungi in more detail than before. Things like DNA sequencing. It's not a new technology, but it's become cheaper and much more widely available than it was. I think part of it is due to the resurgence of interest in psychedelics. Many of the studies into psychedelics have taken place using psilocybin, which is a fungal compound. And I think that has generated a lot of interest and excitement in the kingdom of fungi and what they can do. I think part of it's to do with the worsening global crises, triggering a kind of a new ecological awareness, an awareness that we live in a world of relationships and that everything is connected somehow to everything else. And fungi live their lives as networks, and they're kind of poster organisms for network thinking, for ecological thinking. So I think that people have become interested in fungi as kind of ambassadors of this ecological world that we live in.
When we started looking at chaga mushroom, what is the global situation for chaga? Because this is effectively a wild forage product. So someone has to go to the forest, right? Walk around, wait till they find some growing on a tree, usually climb that tree or put a ladder against that tree, cut it off, bring it down, take off the wood, dry it, freeze it, send it for processing. It's a really archaic and kind of ancient, let's say, way of growing and processing and working with this species. So we said, okay, well that's fine. There must be plenty of this stuff growing, right? And when we looked at the production targets, you know, every year it's going more north because it's being over harvested. So there's less and less in the forest, the price is going up for the raw material, it's getting pushed deeper and deeper in the forest. And Finland is the only country in the world that actually has regulatory limitations on how much of this can actually be extracted from the forest. So they have, every year they do forest surveys and they come up with a limit number. And all the foragers who want to go in and commercially harvest this in publicly owned forests, they have to apply for those permits. So we're like, oh great, okay, so we can buy this from Finland and we can feel like it's being done very sustainably, right? It's really thinking that it doesn't get over harvested. So we said, great, so let's buy from Finland. So we talked with the people who are doing these permits here in Finland, and we realized that they're only issuing like 20 to 40,000 dried kilos worth of permits every year. But that's like the sustainable level of foraging. We know how big Finland as a country is, right? And that's all of Finland is something like this, 20 to 40,000. When you look at a country like Estonia, they're taking 3-4 times that much out per year. And it's a very small country. So that's a relative of like what it means to do sustainable foraging. But when we look globally, we're in the hundreds of thousands, millions of kilos being extracted and used every single year. So if we were to develop a fairly significant global player around functional mushroom ingredients, and our source is wild foraged chaga from Finland, we can't do it. All of Finland's production per year is not enough to supply one major US brand that works with chaga. So we said, okay, the rest are good. Chaga, we need to figure out how to grow it. We saw promise. We took the time it took to inoculate a tree from like 20 minutes down to like less than a minute, so we could be really commercially successful with pricing that makes sense for forest owners. Then we just inoculated everything and just waited. We said, okay, well, it should produce something like this. It should produce a chaga out of the tree, but it takes 10 years to grow. So we did this back in 2017, 2018, and we're like, okay, I guess we have to wait till 2026, 2027 till we see anything. And it was a really tough business, actually. It was really tough to convince Finnish forest owners that what we want you to do is a very new and risky and innovative thing. And you have these forest entities that are very traditional thinking, very conservative companies. But we were able to do it, and we were able to keep them continually interested over the time where nothing was happening. Only about 2 years ago did we finally see the chagas coming out. And I was actually walking through one of these chaga forests with my kids. We were actually going to go pick up a canoe. And as we walked through this forest, we just saw all these chagas coming out. And I was thinking, whoa, is that from our inoculation? And I stopped with the kids, and they're like, Daddy, we gotta go get the canoe. I'm like, no. And I'm taking pictures of all these chagas coming out of the tree. I'm like sending it to everyone in the company. I'm sending it to some big customers. It works, it's working, go check, this is crazy. And then from that day on, we basically implemented a forest survey. So now every fall, we send some PhDs out into the field to actually collect data. So we use LiDAR scanning. So we'll use LiDAR cameras to basically tell us the volume of that chaga that's coming out of the tree and the growth over each year. What we've done is we've built a very interesting regenerative business model for what are, like nature-based products for the forest industry here in Finland, for rural forest owners here in Finland, where we can start to look at what are some higher value revenue developing products actually, as opposed to paper pulp. And now when you look at the annualized ROI for the product, it's like 21%, right? So fairly significant investment opportunity. The benefit is the value of that forest is this. It's not the tree anymore, right? So the entire mindset changes. If the value isn't the tree anymore, well, actually, one of the biggest problems we have in Finland is erosion of the carbon in the soil, right? It just all flows into the Baltic. So we're losing that soil's capacity to sustain and grow more forests every single year. It's going down. So we're reaching into a bank and we're drawing out that carbon. And every year we're taking a little bit more than what's coming back into it. Now we've provided an alternative where you make significantly more investment return on that forest, and those trees can be left in the forest to decompose and add that soil bank and fill it back up again. Add that carbon back to the soil. So I think it's, as an entrepreneur, this is the dream. This is the dream, is to take a problem that no one else is solving, to apply a lens of thinking on it, to put a great team together, and to find those partners, find those things, accomplish those challenges, and make a new kind of program that's running on its own.
Companies like Chaga, I think is very inspiring because they are a company that are producing products for humans to use, but with a very strong ecological awareness. So rather than thinking about commercial products as being somehow independent from the living world, they are thinking in a way where the human products can feed back into ecosystems and support the conservation of vital ecosystems. And for me, that kind of bigger picture, holistic thinking is very important. But what makes our life easier is because fungi are so remarkable in what they do, that when you talk about what they can do, people are astonished. And there are so many wonderful communicators about fungal life at the moment that I'm always surprised at how willing people are to learn more about these organisms and to find out how they can work with these organisms to address any number of challenges. We know so little about fungal life in the wild, wet world. And when we start to study fungi in the fields, doing what they're doing, it allows us to pay attention to a whole dimension of the living world that we haven't been paying enough attention to. And so, especially those in the soil, or half of the species that exist on the world live underground. And yet we don't think so much about these organisms living underground. And so this above ground bias, it skews our understanding of the world that we live in. It means that it's more difficult for us to address many of the challenges of our times. So for me, it's been great to see an increase in our understanding of who's living where and what they might be doing.
So I think in Finland, there's a lot of opportunity, let's say, in this kind of natural product space. Finland has done a really good job branding itself as a kind of a clean, nature-oriented place. So as a company and entrepreneur with a very low marketing budget, to jump on the back of that and ride that, and just look at the posts of Business Finland, or look at the posts of Visit Finland, and work on those already images that people have in their heads, Americans, Japanese, Europeans, that Finland is this magical place of lots of forests, it's very clean nature, the people are kind of like Moomins, we're all just in the forest collecting mushrooms. That is an amazing thing to leverage, right? Because you don't have to then train everyone what Finland means. You're starting from this really great place. So I think definitely there's a huge opportunity for companies and for people to take some risks. Finland is a country of 5.4 million people. So, when I got here, people always said, okay, well, you're an export business. Or Business Finland would ask, are you an export business? And I said, what other business is there in Finland? It's 5.4 million people in the entire country. If you're not in the export business in Finland, you're not in business, right? And I think that it just takes like a mentality shift. And I think in Finland, we can so often just go, hey, life here is great. Things are working really well. Do I need to push myself that extra, whatever it is, to go challenge myself? And to go and export and to go and meet people who are doing what you're doing globally allows you to compete on this level that's really interesting, right? It can be a really interesting experience to challenge yourself in a really big way and push the limits that you feel you have. And I think if you stay in your comfort zone, if you stay in Finland and you sell to SOK or Keskus or whatever, you're not really challenging yourself, right? You're not really pushing the limits of potential. And in retrospect, you're not bringing back to your community, if that's wider Finland, if that's your area, if that's the tax-paying base, you're not bringing back to your community a lot of the benefits that you could give. So definitely challenge yourself. Break this trier stereotype, this trier image that we've put here. If I take a big step back, this Kappa thing that I'm doing right now is a big part of my life, but I feel that my biggest mission here ever is to really help to inspire this entrepreneurship culture in Finland, is really to help people take those risks and feel comfortable with that. And I think that this is the biggest benefit that we can have in Finland, for sure.